Good evening. This is Ryan Mallory for SharePointer.com. Today is February 23rd, 2011. So, for the first time since I don't know how long, we have actually seen some follow through in these markets. Um, we haven't really seen any significant follow through, probably since the time we peaked over here in November, when we actually had a couple of weeks worth of selling to the in the S&P and broader markets. Today was a good start for the Bears. They avoided this, 1 day sell off that leads to a bounce to new highs, um, like what we saw at the end of January. It took 2 days for us to hit new highs after that sell off, and then again earlier that same month we saw a decent sell off on 119, only to see a bounce off the 20-day moving average and a subsequent move to new highs. Um, the market broke through a lot of resistance barriers, and the logical area for it to test next, if the sell-off continues, is the 50-day moving average, and that 50-day moving average rests at 1286, which is, it's about 21 points away, and it seems like a pretty good ways to go from here, um, but not really, because I mean, you look at where we were at. I mean, goodness sakes, just on Friday we were closing at brand new recovery highs at 1343, and now we're at 1307 looking to go sub 12. So a lot has changed in 2 days. In fact, at one point we were below 1300 just for a brief moment, a half point. Futures were about 3 points below it. But as you can see, though, I mean that these are some significant moves that we are seeing in the equity markets, and a lot of stocks are getting hammered in the process. The volume has been nothing short but impressive. I mean, 2 solid days of strength to the downside. Um, so I think, I think the the more selling that we continue to see here, if we get another down day tomorrow, I mean, we're really pushing the envelope as far as how far this market can go in a short period of time. Fear is a bigger emotion than greed, so the markets do tend to sell off a lot harder than what they do go up. You don't see a lot of these kinds of moves to the upside. Um, and in the only cases usually that you do see those kinds of moves is when it's after a significant sell-off. So we could see a move in the coming days where we push higher and erase the losses from today, and maybe even creep into the um, losses from Tuesday. Very possible. They talk about the dead cat bounce, and basically a lifeless object like a dead cat, for instance. If you drop it off a building, the higher the drop, the more it's going to bounce. Sort of a morbid term, but the saying exemplifies that meaning pretty well when it comes to stocks, is that even if the market is destined to go lower, you take a pretty good fall, and we saw this a lot in 2008 when the markets were selling off. Um, you see a pretty good sell-off, you're going to see a pretty good bounce. Doesn't mean that it's going to bounce to new highs or anything, but those do provide you the good opportunities to re-short the market when you get those dead cat bounces. And um, we could easily see one here at the end of the week, especially with some people maybe trying to bargain hunt. And you see a lot of it initially too, because the dip buyers just they got to learn the hard way. And for dip buyers, they're not going to understand the market is done and over with until what they've been doing for the last 23 months is not working anymore. So for the bears, it's to continue to cause misery for these dip buyers, and they've done a pretty good job. I mean, the market tried to bounce off of 1300 today, and it did a pretty good job. We saw a 7 point bounce ultimately, but at one point we were close to pushing that 20-day moving average, and it looked like we were going to get another candle like what we saw um, back here on, I think it was the 20th of January, where we bounced off this 20-day moving average, and but we didn't. We actually saw a little bit of selling in the end. They actually even pushed us below this trend line, and this trend line is the first time it's broken since 9/1. So a couple of things happens here. It's either A, this trend line starts to flatten out some, and the upward trend line resumes. Okay, it wouldn't be by much, but it would be a little bit flatter of a trend line. Or we break through it, and we continue to sell off, and we test this 50-day moving average. We push below that 50-day moving average the gloves are coming off in this market. It's gonna get pretty rough in my opinion. We did touch below the 50-day moving average on an intraday basis back in November, um, but wasn't able to close below it. So that's something that has not been done in this recovery since the recovery actually, or in this rally since it actually started back on 9/1, which closed just the hair below it, and then the next day it broke right through it. So lots of stuff going on in this market. It's getting very interesting. I tend to think that we'll probably see a bounce before this week is over, and probably frustrate the bears some, because I think the bears have taken enough hits on the chin to where they want to see this market just sell off 1% a day for the next 50 days. I mean, they really do. I mean, they're mad, they're angry, they're bitter, and especially towards Ben Bernanke. Um, but they want to see this. They want to see this market go lower, and so um, they're they're going to continue to put on the short positions. Hopefully, they do it in a wise manner. But as we know, the market's full with irrational people, so you can never expect that to happen. But you're going to see some dead cat bounces along the way, even if we go double dipping, and to the March lows. That is way too early to even say something like that. But I'm just giving you an extreme example. You're going to see bounces, and I think you could see a bounce here in the next 1 to 2 days. And then you'll have people coming out of the closet trying to say, "Oh, it's over, it's over. The worst is behind us." But that remains to be seen too. We'll have to just see. Um, so that's going to be it for now. I wanted to give you guys a fresh market update. There's going to be some new changes in SharePlanner. I was hoping to start seeing some of them roll out during the course of this trading week, but it's probably going to be more like this weekend that you're going to start seeing some changes. And I'm going to be tinkering with the site some, so you may see some things change, and be willing to give feedback where you see it. I always appreciate it. Get a lot of good ideas from the visitors to the site. But yeah, just be on the lookout for those new changes rolling out here in the next week or so. All right. Take care, and God bless you.